Welcome back to Liberty Coin USA. Today, we're taking a fascinating look at one of the most recognizable coins in United States history, the Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln penny. At first glance, this small copper-colored coin may look like an ordinary penny, but some Lincoln Memorial cents can attract serious attention from collectors because of their date, mint mark, condition, errors, varieties, and rarity. Could an old penny sitting in your collection actually be worth hundreds, thousands, or in extraordinary cases even far more? That's exactly what we're exploring in today's video. Let's get started. The first up, 1972 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin. And this is a coin that can attract attention from collectors because of its age, design, mint mark, copper composition, and the possibility of finding unusual varieties. While many people may look at a dirty 1972 penny and think that it is simply an old coin with little value, there are several important details that should be checked before deciding what the coin is worth in the current market. The 1972 Lincoln cent was produced at the Denver Mint, and the small D mint mark can be found below the date on the front of the coin. The coin features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right with liberty, and in God we trust around the portrait, while the reverse features the Lincoln Memorial Building, with United States of America, EPLUOBUSUNUM, and 1 cent, making this coin an important part of the long-running Lincoln cent series. The history of the Lincoln Memorial cent begins in 1959, when the United States Mint introduced the Lincoln Memorial design to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The new reverse replaced the famous wheat ears design that had been used since 1909, and the memorial reverse remained in production for many decades. The obverse continued to use the portrait created by Victor David Brenner, while the reverse was designed Frank Gasparo. During the early 1970s, the Lincoln cent was already one of the most familiar coins in American daily life, and millions of these small copper-colored coins were used in stores, vending machines, parking meters, and cash transactions. The 1972 cent, therefore, represents an interesting piece of American history because it was produced during a period of major economic and social change in the United States. The 1972 Lincoln cent was made from a bronze alloy containing approximately 95% copper and 5% zinc, and it normally weighs about 3.11 grams. This is important because the composition is different from the copper-plated zinc cents that became common after the early 1980s. The coin has a diameter of about 19 millimeters, and its small size makes the details especially important when examining a heavily circulated example. If your coin is dirty, the dirt should not immediately be removed, because aggressive cleaning can damage the original surface and lower collector interest. A dirty coin may show brown coloration, dark spot stains, or accumulated material from many years of circulation. But these features are not automatically signs of rarity. The first goal should always be identifying the date, mint mark, condition, and any unusual characteristics before attempting to determine the market value. One of the biggest mistakes made by new collectors is assuming that an old penny must automatically be rare and valuable. The 1972 Lincoln cent had a very large production of more than 2 billion coins, which means that ordinary circulated examples are generally not considered rare today. A coin that has been heavily circulated and is dirty, scratched, or worn will usually have a modest value close to its face value, unless it contains a recognized variety or unusual mint error. However, condition can make a major difference, because collectors are willing to pay much more for coins that have strong original surfaces, sharp details, attractive color, and little evidence of circulation. This means that two coins with exactly the same date and mint mark can have dramatically different market values depending on their condition. The famous 1972 Lincoln cent double die is another reason this date receives attention from collectors. The major 1972 double die obverse is one of the best-known Lincoln cent varieties, and it can show strong doubling on parts of the lettering and date. But there is an important point that every collector should understand. The famous major 1972 double die is associated with the Philadelphia issue and does not carry the D mint mark. Therefore, a normal 1972 cent should not automatically be called the famous double die simply because someone sees unusual shapes around the letters or numbers. Mechanical doubling, die movement, and other forms of strike-related distortion can sometimes look impressive, but may not carry a significant premium. Genuine varieties should be studied carefully and confirmed Before assigning a high value, when examining a dirty 1972 D Lincoln cent, you should start with the date, and then look directly below the date for the D mint mark. Once the mint mark is confirmed, examine the portrait of Lincoln and the lettering around it, look carefully at Liberty and In God We Trust, and then coin over to inspect the Lincoln Memorial reverse, check the columns of the memorial and the surrounding lettering for unusual features. Also inspect the rim and edge for signs of an unusual strike. An off-center strike, a die crack, or another possible mint-made error can sometimes increase collector interest, but damage that occurred after the coin left the mint is normally much less valuable. Scratches, dents, corrosion, discoloration, and cleaning marks are usually considered damage rather than desirable mint errors. The current market value of a 1972 D Lincoln cent depends heavily on condition and certification. An ordinary circulated coin is generally inexpensive, while high-grade examples can be much more interesting to collectors. Professional grading companies such as PCGS record that the 1972 D Lincoln cent is common through circulated grades and remains available in many uncirculated grades, but truly exceptional examples can become scarce. Auction records demonstrate that superb certified coins can reach prices in the thousands of dollars under the right circumstances. However, this should not create the impression that a dirty circulated 1972 D penny is automatically worth thousands of dollars. A heavily worn example normally has a very different market value from a certified gem quality coin. Color is also an important factor when collectors evaluate copper Lincoln, since a coin may be described as brown or red. Brown or red, depending on how much original mint color remains. A dark, dirty coin may have lost much of its original red appearance through circulation or environmental exposure, while a well-preserved uncirculated coin can retain attractive copper red color. Collectors often pay premiums for coins with strong original luster and clean surfaces, because high-grade copper cents are difficult to preserve for many decades. If your 1972 D cent is dirty, it is strongly recommended that you do not polish it or use harsh chemicals, because cleaning can leave permanent marks on the surface and can make the coin less desirable to serious collectors. If you believe your 1972 D Lincoln cent has something unusual, then careful inspection is the next step. Use good lighting and a magnifying glass if available, and compare the coin with trusted references. Look for unusual doubling, die cracks, repunched features, off-center strikes, and other characteristics that could indicate a genuine mint variety. Also consider the weight of the coin, because a significant difference from the expected standard can sometimes provide a useful clue, but weight alone does not prove that a coin is rare. If the coin appears especially unusual, then professional evaluation may be worthwhile. A recognized grading service can authenticate and grade valuable coins, and certification can make a major difference when selling a high-grade example, because buyers have more confidence in a professionally authenticated coin. The final message for anyone who owns a dirty 1972 D Lincoln Memorial cent is simple: do not judge the coin only by its appearance, and do not believe every claim that an ordinary old penny is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The 1972 D cent is generally common in circulated condition, but it can become much more interesting when it has exceptional preservation, a genuine mint error, or a recognized variety. The famous 1972 double die is especially important, but collectors must remember that the major variety is the Philadelphia issue. Without the D mint mark, the value of a 1972 D penny, therefore, depends on the exact coin condition, color, variety, and authentication. If you find one in an old jar or collection, take a close look at the date, mint mark, surfaces, and design details before making any decision, because even when the financial value is modest, this small Lincoln Memorial cent remains a fascinating piece of American history. Next up, today we are taking a close look at the 1980 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin without a mint mark. And this is an interesting coin for collectors, because the absence of a mint mark is actually an important identifying feature rather than automatically being a sign that something is missing or wrong. The 1980 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and the coin carries the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse with Liberty and In God We Trust surrounding the portrait, while the reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial Building with United States of America, EPLUBUSUNUM, and 1 cent. This design had already become one of the most familiar coin designs in American history, and by 1980, the Lincoln Memorial cent had been in circulation for more than 2 decades, making this coin an interesting example from the final years of the traditional bronze cent era. The history of the Lincolns goes back to 1909, when the United States Mint introduced a coin featuring Abraham Lincoln to commemorate the 100th anniversary of his birth. The original reverse showed 2 wheat ears and became known as the wheat cent in 1959. The reverse was changed to the Lincoln Memorial design to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The new reverse was created by Frank Gasparo, while the famous Lincoln portrait on the obverse was based on the work David Brenner. The Lincoln Memorial reverse remained in use until 2008, before the United States Mint introduced new reverse designs in 2009 and later, the current Union Shield reverse in 2010. This makes the 1980 coin part of an important chapter in American coin history. The 1980 Lincoln cent, without a mint mark, was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and the lack of a mint mark is completely normal for this issue. During this period, Philadelphia coins generally did not carry a mint mark, while coins from Denver carried a D and coins from San Francisco carried an S on the Lincoln cent. The mint mark location can be found below the date on the obverse, so when you examine a 1980 cent and see no letter below the date, that does not automatically mean the coin is rare, or that the mint forgot to place a mark. It normally means the coin was struck at Philadelphia. This is one of the most important facts for anyone searching through old pennies, because many people mistake a normal Philadelphia issue for an unusual mint error. The 1980 Lincoln Memorial cent was produced in very large numbers, and that fact has an important effect on its market value. An ordinary 1980 Philadelphia cent in circulated condition is generally not considered a rare coin, and even a very good example does not normally command a huge premium simply because it is from 1980. The condition is still important, because collectors prefer coins with sharp details, clean surfaces, attractive color, and minimal damage. A coin described as very good condition may have considerable wear, but if the coin has strong details and no serious damage, it can still be useful for a Lincoln cent collection. The market value can range from face value for ordinary circulated examples to higher amounts for better preserved coins, and exceptional certified examples can bring substantially more. One of the most interesting features of the 1980 Lincoln cent is its traditional bronze composition. The coin was made with approximately 95% copper and 5% zinc, and it weighs around 3.11 grams. This is important because the United States Mint later changed the composition of the cent in 1982, when copper-plated zinc became the standard for most cents. The 1980 coin therefore belongs to the final period when the familiar heavy bronze Lincoln cent was still being produced on a large scale. Collectors often enjoy comparing these older bronze cents with later zinc cents, because the weight, color, sound, and physical feel can be noticeably different when handled carefully. When searching for value in a 1980 no mint mark Lincoln cent, the most important things to examine are the condition, the color, and any possible errors or varieties. Look carefully at the date and lettering and inspect the surface for unusual characteristics. Genuine mint error can sometimes increase the value of a common coin, but ordinary damage should not be confused with an error. Scratches, dents, corrosion, stains, and damage caused by circulation generally reduce collector appeal rather than increase it. A coin that has been carefully preserved with original surfaces can be more desirable than a coin that has been cleaned or polished. So if you have a nice 1980 Lincoln cent, it is best to avoid using chemicals or abrasive materials, because cleaning can permanently change the original surface. The current market value of a 1980 Lincoln Memorial cent without a mint mark depends heavily on the exact grade and appearance. An ordinary circulated example may be worth only a few cents or close to face value, while uncirculated examples can bring higher prices depending on their grade and color. Certified high-grade red examples are much more interesting to advanced collectors, because copper coins become increasingly difficult to find in superb condition. As they age, auction results can sometimes reach surprisingly high amounts for exceptional specimens, but these prices should never be used as the value of every 1980 penny. A very good circulated coin is normally far less valuable than a certified coin with nearly perfect surfaces, strong original luster, and a high numerical grade. Another unique feature worth examining is the color designation. Collectors often describe copper Lincoln cents as red, brown, or red. A coin that has retained much of its original bright copper appearance can be more desirable than a dark, heavily circulated example. However, color alone does not make a coin rare. The overall grade, surface quality, strike and eye appeal all matter. If your 1980 penny looks very good and has attractive original color, then it may deserve closer inspection under good lighting Also check the rim and both sides of the coin for unusual striking characteristics. A coin. Genuine off-center strike, clipped planchet die crack, or other authentic mint-made error could have a different value from a normal Philadelphia cent. If you believe that your 1980 no mint mark Lincoln cent might be valuable, it is important to compare it with reliable references and auction records, rather than relying on online claims that every old penny is worth thousands of dollars. The absence of the mint mark is normal for Philadelphia coins from this period, and should not by itself be considered a rare error. The best approach is to identify the coin correctly, and then evaluate its condition and variety. If the coin appears unusually well preserved, or has a possible mint error, professional examination may be worthwhile, especially if the coin could qualify for certification. A professionally graded coin can be easier to sell, because buyers have greater confidence in its authenticity and condition. So the final question is whether 1980 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin without a mint mark in very good condition is a rare coin with a huge value in dollars, and the honest answer is that most examples are not rare, and most circulated examples have only a small collector premium. But that does not make the coin uninteresting. This penny represents the Philadelphia Mint, the classic Lincoln Memorial design, and the final period of the traditional bronze composition. It is also a reminder that valuable coins are usually identified through a combination of rarity, condition, variety, and demand rather than age alone. So if you have a 1980 Lincoln cent without a mint mark, take a close look at the date, surfaces, color, lettering, and possible errors before spending or selling it, because the right details can turn an ordinary-looking penny into a much more interesting collectible. Next up, 1983 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin with the D mint mark. And this is an interesting coin because it comes from an important transition period in the history of the American 1-cent piece. The 1983 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint, and the small D mint mark appears below the date on the obverse. The front of the coin features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right with liberty and in God we trust, while the reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial Building with United States of America, EPLUOBUSUNUM, and 1 cent. This familiar design had been used since 1959, and the 1983 coin represents a period when the United States Mint was producing cents using the newer copper-plated zinc composition. The history of the Lincoln cent goes back to 1909, when the United States Mint introduced a coin honoring Abraham Lincoln for the 1st anniversary of his birth. The original Lincoln cent featured the famous wheat ears reverse and remained in production until 1958. In 1959, the United States Mint introduced the Lincoln Memorial reverse to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The new reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo, while the Lincoln portrait was based on the work of Victor David Brenner. The Lincoln Memorial design became one of the longest-running reverse designs American coinage and remained in use until 2008. This makes the 1983 D cent part of a historic series that millions of Americans used every day for purchases and ordinary transactions. One of the most important facts about the 1983 D Lincoln cent is its composition. The United States Mint changed the cent from the traditional bronze alloy to copper-plated zinc, beginning in 1982, because the rising price of copper made the older composition increasingly expensive. The 1983 D cent, therefore, normally weighs about 2.5 grams rather than the approximately 3.11 grams associated with the earlier bronze cents. The new coin consists primarily of zinc, with a thin layer of copper on the outside. This change created an important difference between earlier and later Lincoln cents, and it also created new opportunities for collectors to study unusual errors related to the new planchet composition. The 1983 D Lincoln cent was produced in very large numbers, which means that an ordinary example in fine condition is generally not considered a rare coin. The presence of the D mint mark simply identifies the Denver Mint and does not automatically make the coin valuable. A coin in fine condition will show noticeable circulation, and where but the major design elements should still be visible, collectors can find many 1983 D cents in circulated condition, and the market value for a normal example is usually modest, and often only slightly above face value, depending on the exact condition and collector demand. However, the story becomes more interesting when the coin has an unusual variety or a genuine mint error, because errors can sometimes make an otherwise common date much more desirable. One major feature that collectors should know about the 1983 Lincoln cent is the famous 1983 double die reverse variety. Although the most recognized 1983 double die reverse is associated with the Philadelphia issue without a D-mint mark, collectors should still inspect 1983 cents carefully because doubling and other unusual characteristics can create confusion. The genuine double die variety can show noticeable doubling on parts of the reverse lettering and design elements, but ordinary mechanical doubling can look similar to an inexperienced collector and usually does not carry the same premium. This is why a coin should never be described as a valuable double die simply because a letter looks slightly wider or distorted. Careful comparison with known examples is necessary before making a value claim. When examining a 1983 D Lincoln cent in fine condition, you should carefully inspect both sides of the coin. Begin with the date and confirm that the D mint mark is present below the date. Then examine the portrait of Lincoln and the surrounding lettering. Check Liberty God W.E. Trust for unusual features and turn the coin over to inspect the Lincoln Memorial and all reverse lettering. Also look carefully at the rim and edge, because genuine striking errors can sometimes be found in unexpected areas. An off-center strike, a clip planchet, a die crack, or another authentic mint-made error can potentially increase collector interest, but scratches, dents, corrosion, stains, and other damage that occurred after the coin left the mint are normally considered damage rather than valuable errors. The current market value of a 1983 D Lincoln Memorial cent depends mainly on condition, rarity, variety, and demand. An ordinary circulated coin in fine condition is generally worth only a small amount and should not be confused with the much higher prices sometimes reported for exceptional certified examples or rare varieties. High-grade coins with strong original surfaces can attract stronger collector interest, and certified specimens can sell for significantly more than ordinary circulated pieces. However, a high auction price for an exceptional coin does not mean that every 1983 D cent is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Collectors must compare the exact grade and characteristics of their own coin with verified sales before estimating its market value. Another important feature of the 1983 D cent is its copper-colored surface. Because the coin has a thin copper layer over a zinc core, the surface can sometimes show unusual appearance when it has been damaged or exposed to harsh conditions. Collectors should avoid cleaning or polishing the coin, because removing the original surface can hurt its value and may make the coin less desirable. If the copper layer has been damaged, the underlying zinc can become visible, and the coin may develop discoloration or corrosion. This type of damage is normally not considered a valuable mint error unless it resulted from a confirmed manufacturing problem. Coins that remain attractive and original are generally preferred by collectors, so careful handling is always recommended. If you discover a 1983 D Lincoln cent that looks unusual, then research is the best next step. Compare the coin with trusted coin references and known examples of varieties. Examine photographs of recognized errors and pay close attention to the exact location and shape of any doubling or unusual feature. Do not rely only on online videos or advertisements that promise huge values for ordinary pennies. The coin market contains many exaggerated claims, and the real value of a coin is determined by what collectors are actually willing to pay for that specific example. If your coin appears to have a significant variety or error, then professional authentication and grading may be worthwhile, because an authenticated coin can provide greater confidence for buyers and can make an important difference when the coin is sold. The final message about the 1983 D Lincoln Memorial 1 cent coin is that an ordinary example in fine condition is generally not a rare coin with a huge value, but it is still an interesting piece of American history and a useful coin for collectors studying the transition to copper-plated zinc cents. The D Mint mark identifies the Denver Mint, while the Lincoln Memorial reverse connects the coin to one of the longest-running designs in United States coinage. The most exciting possibilities come from genuine varieties, unusual mint errors, and exceptional condition. So if you have a 1983 D cent, do not judge it only by its age. Take a close look at the date, mint mark, surfaces, lettering, reverse design, and possible errors, because the small details are what can separate an ordinary circulated penny from a genuinely collectible example. Next up, 1992 Lincoln Memorial 1 cent coin with the D Mint mark. And this is an interesting coin for collectors because it belongs to an important period in the history of the Lincoln cent. The 1992 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint, and the small D Mint mark can be found below the date on the obverse side of the coin. The front displays the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right with liberty and in God we trust, while the reverse features the Lincoln Memorial Building, surrounded by United States of America, EPLUBUSUNUM. And 1 cent. This classic design had been used since 1959, and the 1992 D-cent was produced during the final years of the Lincoln Memorial series, before the major changes that would come later in the decade. And beyond, the history of the Lincoln cent began in 1909, when the United States Mint introduced a coin honoring Abraham Lincoln to celebrate the 100th anniversary of his birth. The original Lincoln cent featured the famous wheat ears reverse, and became known as the wheat cent. That design continued until 1958, when the United States Mint prepared a new reverse for the 150th anniversary of Lincoln birth. In 1959, the Lincoln Memorial Reverse was introduced, and it was designed by Frank Gasparo, while the obverse portrait was based on the work of Victor David Brenner. The Lincoln Memorial design became one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history, and remained in production for almost 50 years, which makes the 1992 D-cent an important part of the later period of this famous series. The 1992 D Lincoln cent was produced using the copper-plated zinc composition that had become standard for United States cents. After 1982, the coin normally weighs about 2.5 grams and has a thin copper outer layer over a zinc core. This composition was introduced because the cost of producing traditional bronze cents had become too high. As the price of copper increased, the change created a lighter Lincoln cent that looked similar to the older bronze coins, but had a very different internal composition for collectors. This difference is important because certain errors and varieties involving the planchet can have special value. The 1992 D-cent therefore belongs to a generation of Lincoln cents that can be studied not only for its date and mint mark, but also for its planchet characteristics and possible mint errors. A normal 1992 D Lincoln cent in fine condition is generally not considered a rare coin because millions of examples were produced, and many survived in circulation. The D mint mark identifies the Denver Mint, and is a normal feature rather than an indication that the coin is automatically scarce. A fine condition coin will show moderate circulation and some loss of detail, but the major design elements remain recognizable. The value of an ordinary circulated 1992 D cent is generally modest, and may be close to face value or only slightly above it, depending on the exact condition and collector demand. The fact that the coin is more than 30 years old does not automatically make it rare, because age is only one factor in determining collectible value. One of the most important things to understand when searching a 1992 D Lincoln cent is the difference between an ordinary coin and a genuine variety. Collectors often look for double dies, repunched features, die cracks, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other mint-made errors. However, damage that happens after the coin leaves the mint is normally not considered a valuable error. Scratches, dents, corrosion, stains, and cleaning marks usually reduce the appeal of a coin rather than increase its value. This is especially important when evaluating a fine condition example, because circulation can create many unusual-looking marks that may appear dramatic under magnification, but have no significant collector premium. The 1992 Lincoln cent is also connected to one of the most famous modern Lincoln cent varieties, known as the 1992 Close AM variety. This variety is extremely interesting because the letters AM in America on the reverse are unusually close together compared. Normal spacing used on the regular issue. The most famous and valuable examples are associated with the 1992 Philadelphia and Denver cents, and this means that a 1992 D cent deserves careful examination even if it is only in fine condition. The spacing between the A and M in America can be an important diagnostic feature for collectors looking for this rare variety. However, identification should be done carefully because photographs and online descriptions can sometimes lead to false claims, and a genuine variety should be compared with authenticated examples. When examining your 1992 D Lincoln cent, start with the date and confirm that the D mint mark is located below the date. Then turn the coin over and carefully inspect the reverse, especially the word America. Pay attention to the spacing between the A and M, and compare it with known examples of the 1992 Close AM variety. Also examine the letters in Liberty and the other design details for possible doubling. Inspect the Lincoln Memorial columns and the surrounding lettering for unusual characteristics, and check the rim for signs of an off-center strike or other striking error. A simple magnifying glass and strong lighting can help reveal details that are difficult to see with the naked eye. But remember that unusual appearance does not automatically mean high value. The current market value of a 1992 D Lincoln cent can vary dramatically. Depending on whether it is a normal coin or a recognized variety, an ordinary fine condition example is usually worth a small amount and should not be confused with the prices achieved by rare varieties. The 1992 close AM variety can command much higher prices because it is considerably scarcer than the normal issue, and collectors actively search for it. High-grade certified examples can bring substantial premiums, while circulated examples with the correct characteristics can also be desirable. The exact value depends on authenticity, grade, surface quality, and buyer demand, so it is better to describe the coin as potentially valuable rather than promise a specific dollar amount without examining the actual piece. Another important point is that collectors should never clean a potentially valuable 1992 D cent. Cleaning can remove the original surface and create scratches that reduce collector appeal. If the coin has dirt or dark coloration, it is better leave it in its current state until it has been properly identified. A coin with original surfaces can be more valuable than one that has been polished or chemically treated. If you believe the coin may be the rare close AM variety, then preserving the coin becomes even more important, because collectors and professional grading services want to see the original surfaces as much as possible. Professional authentication can also help determine whether the unusual reverse spacing is genuine and whether coin qualifies for a recognized variety designation. The 1992 D Lincoln Memorial 1 cent coin is therefore an excellent example of why collectors should examine ordinary-looking pennies carefully. A normal coin in fine condition is generally not a rare treasure, and its market value is usually modest. But the possibility of a genuine 1992 close AM variety makes this date especially interesting. The D mint mark confirms that the coin was produced at Denver, while the Lincoln Memorial reverse connects it to a famous American coin series that lasted for decades. If you find a 1992 D cent, take a close look at the date, mint mark condition, and especially the spacing between the A and M in America. Do not clean the coin and do not rely on exaggerated internet claims. Compare the coin with trusted references and consider professional authentication if the features appear correct, because a small difference in the design can sometimes make an enormous difference in the collector market. Next up, the 1998 D Lincoln Memorial 1 cent coin in uncirculated condition. And this is a coin that can be much more interesting than its face value might suggest. The 1998 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint, and the small D mint mark can be found below the date on the obverse side of the coin. The front features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right with liberty and in God we trust, while the reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial with United States of America, EPLUBUSUNUM, and 1 cent. This familiar design had been used since 1959, and the 1998 D cent belongs to the final decade of the famous Lincoln Memorial series. Although billions were produced, an attractive uncirculated example can still attract collectors, especially when it has bright original red color, strong luster, sharp details, and very few marks. The history behind this coin begins much earlier than 1998, because the Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The original Lincoln cent featured the famous wheat ears reverse and became known as the wheat cent. That design continued until 1958, and in 1959, the United States Mint introduced the Lincoln Memorial reverse to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The Lincoln portrait was based on the work of Victor David Brenner, while the memorial reverse was designed by Frank Gasparo. The Lincoln Memorial design became one of the most recognizable American coin designs and remained on the cent until 2008, which means that the 1998 D coin is part of a long historical series that was used by generations of Americans in everyday commerce. The 1998 D Lincoln cent has an important physical feature that separates it from the older bronze Lincoln cents. The coin was made from copper-plated zinc and normally weighs about 2.5 grams with a diameter of about 19 millimeters. According to PCGS, the Denver Mint produced approximately 5,225,353,500 examples, dated 1998 D. And this enormous mintage tells us that the normal coin is not rare in the traditional sense. However, collectors know that mintage is only one part of the story, because millions of coins can be produced while only a small percentage survive in truly exceptional condition. The uncirculated example you are looking at can therefore be more desirable than an ordinary circulated coin, especially if it has excellent surfaces, strong strike, original red color, and a very high professional grade. When we talk about an uncirculated 1998 D Lincoln cent, we are talking about a coin that shows little or no evidence of normal circulation. The coin may still have small contact marks from being transporting or stored with other coins. Because uncirculated does not mean absolutely perfect, collectors often look for coins with bright original red surfaces, strong mint luster, and clean fields. The color designation is especially important for modern copper-plated zinc cents, because a coin can be classified as brown or red, depending on its appearance and preservation. A brilliant red example with attractive original surfaces can be far more desirable than a dark or damaged example. And this is one reason why two 1998 D pennies that look similar to a casual observer can have very different market values. The current market value of a normal 1998 D Lincoln cent is generally modest, even when the coin is uncirculated, because large quantities were produced. However, exceptional certified examples can bring substantially higher prices. PCGS records auction record of $529 for a 1998 D Lincoln cent graded MS66. And its auction records also show a 1998 D MS68 red example selling for $403, while another MS68 red example sold for $252. These sales demonstrate the importance of grade, but they should not be interpreted as the automatic value of every uncirculated 1998 D penny. A raw coin found in a jar or collection may be worth much less, and the exact value depends on the actual quality of the coin. One of the most interesting features connected with the 1998 Lincoln cent is the wide AM variety on the reverse. This variety involves the spacing between the A and M in the word America, and collectors carefully examine this area. When searching 1998 Lincoln cents, the wide AM variety can be considerably more desirable than the normal issue, and high-grade examples have sold for several $100s at auction. For example, Heritage Auctions recorded a 1998 wide AM cent graded MS67 red selling for $336 in 2021, and another MS67 red example sold for $504 in 2019. However, it is important to examine the exact characteristics, because not every 1998 cent particular-looking AM spacing will necessarily have the same value, and the mint mark must also be considered when identifying the exact variety. If you have a 1998 D Lincoln cent in uncirculated condition, you should carefully inspect the reverse, and especially the letters AM in America. Use a magnifying glass and good lighting, and compare the spacing with authenticated examples. Also examine the date and D mint mark on the obverse, and look for strong original detail across Lincoln Portrait Liberty and In God We Trust on the reverse. Inspect the Lincoln Memorial columns lettering and the surrounding fields for unusual doubling die characteristics or striking errors. Remember that ordinary scratches, dents, plating damage, and environmental problems are normally not valuable mint errors. A genuine mint-made error can be much more interesting, but it should be properly identified before a high value is claimed. Another important feature is the copper plating, because the 1998 D cent has a zinc core covered by a thin copper layer. Damage to this plating can sometimes create unusual-looking areas on the coin, but collectors should not automatically assume that exposed zinc or discoloration is a valuable error. The coin should also never be polished or aggressively cleaned, because cleaning can damage the original surface and reduce collector appeal. An uncirculated coin with original surfaces is especially worth protecting, because high-grade modern cents are judged heavily on surface quality, luster, color, and the absence of distracting marks. If the coin appears unusually attractive, then storing it in a proper non-damaging holder can help preserve its condition. For anyone wondering whether a 1998 D Lincoln Memorial cent can really be worth big money, the answer is yes, but only under particular circumstances. A normal uncirculated example is usually a modest value coin, while an exceptional certified coin can reach significantly higher prices. PCGS records a 1998 D MS68 red example at $403, and a special proof, like MS68 red example, has an auction record of $450. These figures show the potential of exceptional coins, but they do not mean that every uncirculated 1998 D cent is worth hundreds of dollars. the biggest opportunities come from very high grades, recognized varieties, unusual mint errors and coins with exceptional eye appeal. So the final conclusion is that the 1998 D. Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin is not normally rare, because more than 5 billion examples were produced at Denver. But an uncirculated specimen can still be an attractive collectible, and a very high-grade red example may have meaningful market value. The first things to check are the D mint mark, the overall condition, the original red color, the quality of the surfaces, and the reverse lettering, especially the spacing between the A and M in America. If the coin appears exceptional or shows a possible recognized variety, then professional authentication and grading may be worthwhile, because the difference between an ordinary 1998 D penny and a high-grade collectible can be substantial. So before spending or selling your 1998 D. Lincoln cent, take a close look at every detail, because sometimes the most valuable clue is found in a very small part of the design. Thanks for watching.